Nothing's wrong with most of this, looking through it. What I was, a lack thereof was not the reason this was missed. It was because people were afraid of being seen as racist, which is in itself a problem.
I agree.
And Islamophobic.
I agree.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Julian Discourse. There is nothing more sickening than watching an elite activist prioritize ideological purity over the safety of vulnerable children. For years, the British establishment allowed horrific grooming gangs to operate with absolute impunity because authorities were terrified of being called racist. In this explosive clip, Labour commentator Sebastian attempts that exact same progressive playbook on live television. Instead of engaging with a devastating new independent report on the crisis, he tries to dismiss the findings simply because he doesn't like the Conservative politician who funded it, Reform UK MP Rupert Lowe. Watch the panel completely corner him for this staggering display of elite cowardice. Hit subscribe and let's get into it.
Sebastian, what did you make of this?
I don't understand why this is happening. I think initially it was politically a good piece of communications because the
inquiry itself.
This inquiry, because the government was dragging its heels on an inquiry, which it shouldn't have done. That was a mistake. Eventually it relented and there was an inquiry. Good decision, statutory inquiry. It has the powers to change the law, to compel people to do things. This is non-statutory, and so it's a communications exercise. And after that,
it's more than that, surely.
Well,
you're hearing a lot of information, a lot of evidence from people. It's happening a lot faster than heels are still being dragged on that statutory inquiry, and there is a lack of confidence in statutory inquiries for many people who say, lessons will be learned. People are still waiting for compensation on infected blood, for example.
Sure. But look, if an inquiry is not statutory, what is the point of it?
I think there is a point in inquiries that aren't statutory. So, in your view, are you then saying that the rape gang inquiry has no point?
I think this one lost its relevance when the government's statutory inquiry was launched. There's no point having two parallel inquiries, one run by the government, the other run by a backbench. Look, I'm sure this is an excellent piece of work. I've only looked at the executive summary, but I am concerned about the people behind it. We've heard the language that Rupert Lowe uses about people from other countries, and it is deplorable. And so it is really hard to escape the reality that this is a man who comes to this with a lot of preconditions.
I think you are almost levelling a charge of dog whistling to this report, actually.
It's not far off,
That's what it sounds like to me, Sebastian, but I would urge you to look beyond that. I, like you, have only read the executive summary coming here today, which is excellent, I think. What I do think this is such a worthwhile piece on, especially given the backdrop of the murder of that 13-month-old child, of the reporting, of the accountability, of the joined-up thinking of the agencies and the coordination of the agencies involved in protecting children. You only have to speak to Maggie Oliver for 10 minutes and you will see a wonderful, wonderful woman. But the overriding issue that she has had was with the reporting of the young girls and with the information that they gave trusted professionals that didn't go any further. And this report here at the end says that our detailed list of, it's only recommendations because it's not statutory, as we're all very well aware, includes improved data recording on ethno-religious patterns among offenders. If we had that, the gangs might have been able to be infiltrated before now, and we might have been able to save some of those 250,000 white girls that were raped and damaged beyond recognition. We want far stronger sentencing, a comprehension deportation effort, tick, who wouldn't want that? Institutional accountability measures, of course. We need to be able to go back to... If this was the Catholic Church, this would be kicked all the way up to the Pope and hopefully it will be dealt with. But it needs to have clear lines of accountability and then multi-agency coordination. That, for me, is paramount. That, for me, transcends DEI.
What's wrong with any of that, Sebastian?
nothing's wrong with most of this, looking through it. What I would say is a lot of this feels a little bit obvious. I think some of it misses the mark in that data recording on ethno-religious patterns, a lack thereof, was not the reason this was missed. It was because people were afraid of being seen as racist, which is in itself a problem. I agree.
And Islamophobic.
But if you had recorded that, for example, from the start, a pattern could have emerged. You could have had actual data. Because I would put to you, Sebastian, that your attitude to this so far, you may not like Rupert Lowe, and that's fine. And if you don't like him, you don't like him. But there are various people involved with this, like Carla Lockhart for the DUP, is someone with great integrity. Nick Timothy, who really cares about this. I know it's Conservative and you're Labour, but nonetheless, I don't think you can disagree with certain things he says, but he really cares about this issue. They are putting this together because they feel that they don't have confidence in the statutory inquiry. And I would suggest that some of the attitude that you've exhibited there is actually part of the problem of why people don't trust the government on this.
So let me put it like this. I think there are some people, and you've named some of them there, who really, really care about this issue, who think that there was a drastic miscarriage of justice and that young girls have been thoroughly let down, and I would agree with them. But there are other people who build their political edifice on trying to scapegoat trying to scapegoat foreigners, and they make comments like Rupert Lowe has, saying things like they are third world savages, which I think we would all condemn in this room. And those people are trying to make political hay, and so we have a mixture of characters. And I'm concerned about Lowe's involvement in this. I think if he were less involved, I would probably have more truck with it.
So rape gang perpetrators are basically savages. I have no problem with that. I wouldn't talk about third world savages overall.
No.
And I think that is a misstep and something that Rupert Lowe shouldn't say.
Yeah.
And there are certain views of Rupert Lowe that I don't hold sway with. But I don't disagree with anything in this report that I have read so far, and I have to admit I haven't read the whole thing. Claire, what do you make of that? Of what Sebastian said there?
Well, it goes back to my first initial point, that it does sound to me as if you are using this executive summary and Rupert Lowe and using them as they are dog whistling in terms of getting their point out.
Well, do you not think that there are people like Rupert Lowe who use issues that are very noble and very genuine, like this one, to further their political agenda?
So your accusation is that Rupert Lowe doesn't care. I don't want to put words in your mouth, Sebastian, but is your accusation that he doesn't care about rape gang victims and he's using them to further an anti-Muslim agenda? Is that what you think?
Put it like this. I only see him furthering the rights of women and girls when he can use it to talk down people from other countries. OK,
well, that might be your point. I don't necessarily agree with you on that. I think Rupert Lowe has been one of the only members of Parliament, actually, who's been willing to take this on board and deal with it.
And there are people, sorry to interrupt you, Claire, but there are people like Naz Shah, for example, who say that actually what Rupert Lowe is doing is correct.
And Sammy
Woodhouse. And saying, but I'm saying specifically with Naz Shah, with Naz Shah's background, are saying that actually this needs to be said.
Yeah.
People are shying away from it. People are worried again about being called racist.
Yeah, no, that we agree on.
And are saying that this actually needs to be put into the public domain.
That we agree on. I think Rupert Lowe is the wrong person to carry it because of his other comments. It undermines his position here. And I think an independent inquiry like this is the wrong channel for it. But there is already a government inquiry.
He was the one who raised the GoFundMe page for this. Correct me if I'm wrong.
You're absolutely right. £600,000.
He then had a duty of care to manage and had a responsibility for all of that money and to those people that entrusted him with doing what he said he would do, i.e. to deliver this. And I don't think this is whitewashing. I don't think this is dog whistling. I think this is pure and simple facts of the matter.
Claire in Buckley in North Wales has another thought for you. Sebastian says, how dare Sebastian say that Rupert's rape gang inquiry is a communications exercise? He's done more than this useless government have in their woeful, lacklustre inquiry that's barely started. Sebastian needs to remember that behind these rape gangs are children who have had their childhood, innocence and adult life stolen from them. They deserve justice. I'm not a Restore fan, but Rupert Lowe is standing up for the victims and doing what he said he would. Unlike previous Tory and now Labour governments, it is disgraceful on their part. What would you say to Claire?
I quite agree that they do deserve justice, and they deserve the very highest form of justice, which is why we need a statutory inquiry, and I'm pleased that one's happening.
Sebastian proves exactly why this inquiry was needed, putting his political dislike of a politician ahead of justice for the victims. I believe Restore might just be what this country needs. Do you want to respond to that?
Yeah,
Sebastian?
It's not about political dislike. It's about whether you say certain things and they undermine your credibility, and I think that's what Rupert Lowe's done here. He's made it very clear what he thinks about people from countries like those who were involved in the rape gangs, and I think that puts him at a disadvantage when it comes to impartiality.
You know, there is no greater indictment of the modern progressive left than watching an activist sit on national television and openly admit he cares more about political correctness than the safety of vulnerable children. When Labour commentator Sebastian sat in that studio, he didn't try to refute the horrifying data inside the new independent grooming gang report. Instead, he deployed the ultimate progressive deflection. He attacked the messenger. He admitted he was dismissing the findings simply because he disliked the Conservative politician who funded it, Reform UK MP Rupert Lowe. To understand why this mindset is so catastrophic for the United Kingdom as we navigate 2026, you have to look at the dark timeline of how these grooming gangs operated. This wasn't a sudden intelligence failure, it was a deliberate, decades-long ideological cover-up. Go back to August 2014, when the Explosive J report on the Rotherham scandal was finally published. It exposed the horrifying reality that over 1,400 vulnerable British girls had been subjected to severe organized sexual abuse over a 16-year period. And why did it go on for so long? The official report explicitly confirmed that local authorities, police, and social workers looked the other way because they were absolutely terrified of being labeled racist if they investigated perpetrators from specific demographic backgrounds. Instead of learning from that horrific institutional failure, the modern establishment doubled down. The government dragged its feet on a statutory inquiry for so long that the British public literally had to crowdfund their own independent report. And yet, when the truth is finally delivered, the left's immediate reaction is to complain about the tone of the man who delivered it. We cannot allow tribalism and progressive purity to trump justice. A society that refuses to protect its most vulnerable citizens simply to spare the feelings of activists is a society in terminal decline. Thank you for watching Julian Discourse. Hit that subscribe button, leave a like, and I'll see you in the next one.